U.S. prosecutors have now charged the founder of the now bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, with 8 counts, including wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. These charges are on top of what the Security and Exchange Commission have already filed. Our correspondent Sarah Williamson has the latest. Sarah.
Well, disgraced former FTX chief executive has been spending the last month between the collapse of his cryptocurrency empire and his Monday arrest in the Bahamas, trying to convince the public he is just a young entrepreneur with good intentions who simply got in over his head.
I mean, look, I've had a bad month. This has not been a fun month for me.
But a joint investigation by the FBI and the Department of Justice suggests something very different. The unsealing of a criminal indictment on Tuesday in New York shows prosecutors are charging the 30-year-old with 8 counts relating to fraud and conspiracy such as these.
Bankman-Fried and his co-conspirators stole billions of dollars from FTX customers. He used that money for his personal benefit, including to make personal investments and to cover expenses and debts of his hedge fund, Alameda Research. Secondly, and relatedly, we charge that Bankman-Fried lied to Alameda's lenders about the source of the money that he was using to pay those debts. Third, we charge that earlier this year, in the midst of the crypto crisis, Bankman-Fried lied to investors in FTX about the fact that he had sent billions of dollars in FTX customer money to Alameda.
The Security and Exchange Commission also filing civil charges against Bankman-Fried, alleging he misled investors that committed around $2 billion to FTX. And speaking Tuesday at the House Committee of Financial Services hearing, the new CEO of FTX, Mr. John Ray III, took to the stand and spoke at length on the wrongdoings Sam Bankman-Fried and his accomplices had committed. Here's Mr. Ray.
This is really old-fashioned embezzlement. This is just taking money from customers and using it for your own purpose. Not sophisticated at all.
And after the judge in the Bahamas denied Bankman-Fried bail, calling him a flight risk, local media is reporting he has lodged a new bid for bail that will be heard in just over 1 month's time. The FTX founder is being held on remand at Fox Hill Prison, the only jail in the Bahamas, which is known for its harsh conditions, overcrowdedness with poor sanitation and poor medical care. Now, the Bahamas has an extradition treaty with the US, but it is unclear how long it will take for Bankman-Fried to be back on home soil. It's said the process can take weeks and even longer if the criminal defendant contests it. Back to you.
Thanks, Sarah. Now joining me now to continue the discussion on the scandal, the founder and the president of the Article 3 project, Mike Davis. Mike, thank you so much for being with us. You sounded the alarm on this right away, that the timing of this arrest is very suspect. Tell us what's going on here. Who are the key players, in addition to Bankman-Fried, that we should be hearing about as this proceeds?
Yeah, so Bankman-Fried was the CEO of this FTX crypto exchange. He also ran Alameda Research. He was down in the Bahamas, and he was getting ready to testify before the House Financial Services Committee run by Maxine Waters. He wasn't even subpoenaed to testify. He was merely invited to testify. I was the Senate staff leader on the Judiciary Committee for 30 hearings and another 40 other Senate Judiciary meetings. I've never heard anything like this, where this guy was merely invited, not subpoenaed, and then the Biden Justice Department sought his extradition, got his arrest in the Bahamas before he could go testify the next day. Why would they not want him to go testify before the House Financial Services Committee so he can, maybe spill the beans on his intent, his criminal intent? But maybe we have to step back and look. This guy donated $40 million to Democrats in 2022, is the second biggest donor to Democrats behind George Soros. So maybe that explains why He got an invitation and wasn't subpoenaed. Maybe that explains why that he was arrested before he could testify.
If they had subpoenaed him, Mike, would that have precluded, given that there was an existing congressional subpoena, would that have precluded the Justice Department from having him arrested or extraditing him to the United States? Would that have provided a legal blocker? And is that maybe the reason why it was just sort of this, almost like a friendly invitation to show up?
I don't know if it would have legally blocked the Biden administration from seeking his arrest in the Bahamas and extradition, but it seems to me that they could have worked together to make sure that Sam Bankman-Fried was able to testify remotely from the Bahamas, so we can hear his criminal intent, give him enough rope to hang himself. And it sounds like the Biden Justice Department and the Democrats and the House didn't want him to actually testify. Maybe they were scared what he had to say, because he had worked pretty closely with Democrats, including giving them $40 million to their campaigns.
Some of the Republican House members who sit on the Financial Services Committee have also, along with you, publicly questioned the timing as well. New York Congressman Lee Zeldin tweeting out, quote, "Tomorrow Sam Bankman-Fried was scheduled to testify in front of the House Financial Services Committee. The GOP House was ready to grill him 6 ways to Sunday. Now, breaking tonight, SBF was just arrested. Why not allow him to first testify tomorrow and answer our many questions?" And Ohio Congressman Warren Davidson had this to say when asked about the timing during an appearance on Newsmax earlier this week. Take a listen.
But the best theory I have is that the SEC and others didn't want SBF to give his own version of, so what were you doing with Gary Gensler in the Securities and Exchange Commission with all these meetings and all this interaction that you've had with regulators? And he would have been able to give his side of that. The regulators, the SEC, Gary Gensler and others wouldn't have been able to filter the questions, and they didn't know where that was going to go.
Mike, talk to us about Gary Gensler and the SEC. That's another name that's important to this puzzle here.
Yeah, it seems like the whole DC swamp is entangled with this Sam Bankman-Fried, and he comes in, he's 30 years old. Just look at a picture of him. Why would anyone give this guy any money or take him seriously? He's a freak, and he's managed to be the #2 Democrat contributor in 2022, and it's amazing what $40 million does in the Democrat Party, how much influence it can buy in the Democrat Party, whether it's Democrats in the House or Democrat Biden appointees to the Securities and Exchange Commission. This is just rotten to its core, and the fact that they wanted to take him out legally so he couldn't testify says everything we need to know.
Here is Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, earlier this week, refusing to answer if Biden will return campaign donations from FTX.
I'm covered here by the Hatch Act, limited on what I can say, and anything that's connected to political contributions from here, I would have to refer you to the DNC.
Should the president, Mike, Democrats and other left-wing groups return that money, as $40 million, as you pointed out?
I mean, absolutely. There are allegations of fraud. There's a bankruptcy. There's a bankruptcy estate. That money needs to go back to the people who were defrauded, who were ripped off. It can't just go to the Democrats' favorite charities. They have to give back this money, and it can't go to some left-wing charity of their choice. This needs to go back to the people who were ripped off, who were defrauded.
But now that he's been arrested, this is now in the purview of the Justice Department and the justice system, which means that this could basically, they could try to make this go away, and they could have it string out for a very, very long time. And it's going to be very controlled in terms of what we know and when we know it, in terms of what happened here, right?
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing stinks, and there's a cover-up here, and the Democrats, they don't want this guy testifying. They don't want it to get out to the public what this guy was able to buy with his $40 million in campaign contributions. There's so much corruption here. So many people lost billions of dollars, and I have no confidence. I have zero confidence that the Biden Justice Department will get to a just resolution in this case.
All right. Well, Mike Davis, we're going to be following this story. As you said, it potentially, many people, billions of dollars, and many people were defrauded. This is one of the biggest schemes of its kind in history, and we appreciate your insights. Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the truth. No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
For real people.